Anjanashalakaya Chakshurumilitamena Tasme Shri Guruve Namah. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyate Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So once again, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Especially, I would like to thank His Grace Naharaj Chaitanya Prabhu and His Grace Sankarshan Prabhu, and of course Raviganatha Prabhu, who is hosting today, for giving me this opportunity to speak few words about Srimad Bhagavatam. Also, at the outset, whatever I'm going to speak, it's on my own verification. I have no realization, and also the topic will be not for anybody else, it's for me. So that's with that mood, I'm going to speak few words. Also, please bless me so that I don't speak anything concoction of my own. I speak as per the Shastras. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyev cha patitana pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Okay. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 16th chapter, and verse 11 to 14 will be covering today. Verse 11. Durashado durvishaha asanno api viduravat naiva bibhavitum sakhyo venarani uttito analaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. King Prithu was born out of the dead body of King Vena. As fire is produced from arani wood. Thus, King Prithu will always remain just like fire, and his enemies will not be able to approach him. Indeed, he will be unable to his enemies although staying very near him. They will never be able to approach him, but will have to remain as if far away. No one will be able to overcome his strength of King Prithu. Purport. Arani wood is a kind of fuel used to ignite fire by friction at the time of performing sacrifice. One can ignite a fire from arani wood, although born of his dead father, King Prithu would still remain just like fire. Just as the fire is not easily approached, King Prithu would be unapproachable by his enemies, even though they would appear to be very near. 12. Antarbahishcha bhutana pashyan karmani charane udasino iva daksho vayur atme vadehinam. Translation. King Prithu will be able to see all the internal and external activities of every one of his citizens. Still, no one will be able to know his system of espionage, and he himself will remain neutral regarding all matters of glorification or vilification paid to him. He will be exactly like air, the life force within the body, which is exhibited internally and externally, but is always neutral to all affairs. 13. Na dandyam dandayate esha sutam atmadvishamapi dandayati atmajan api dandyam dharmapate stitaha. Translation. Since this king will always remain on the path of piety, he will be neutral to both his son and the son of his enemy. If the son of his enemy is not punishable, he will not punish. But if his own son is punishable, he will immediately punish him. Purport. These are the characteristics of an impartial ruler. It is the duty of a ruler to punish the criminal and give protection to the innocent. King Prithu was so neutral that if his own son were to be punishable, he would not hesitate to punish him. On the other hand, if the son of his enemy were innocent, he would not engage in some intrigue in order to punish him. 14. Asya prakahitam chakram prator amana sachalat vartate bhagavan arko yavad tapati goganai. Translation. Just as the sun god expands his shining rays up to the Arctic region without impedance, the influence of King Prithu will cover all tracts of land up to the Arctic region and will remain undisturbed as long as lives. Purport. Although the Arctic region is not visible to ordinary persons, the sun shines there without impediment. Just as no one can check the sunshine from spreading all over the universe, no one could check the influence of and reign of King Prithu, which would remain undisturbed as long as he lived. The conclusion is that the sunshine and the sun god cannot be separated, nor could King Prithu and his ruling strength be separated. His rule over everyone would continue without disturbance. Thus, king could not be separated from the ruling power. Okay, so we were discussing the glories of King Prithu for a few weeks now. So today, in this 4 verses, I could note down few points. So of course, there are quite a lot of points Srila Prabhupada has brought out, but I have put down few points and we try to discuss out of this maybe 1 or 2 points as much time permits today. So first theme in the verse 11 talks about how the fire generated from Arani wood. So it's not easy. It's in olden days, the great sages and munis, when they perform yajna, they will not light lamp with the fire with the matchstick or lamp. They will invite sun god through their pure mantras. And so another process is mentioned here is that how the fire generated from the churning of the Arani wood. So that churning or that rubbing, continuous rubbing, it's not an easy process. It takes a lot of time and it comes very, very slowly. First little smoke, from there further churning and further putting air, and the fire comes. So the lesson for us that same way for us, that continuous churning, continuous sadhana, and continuous purification gets the bhakti, the love of Godhead. So the love of Godhead is not so easy. It has to go through the churning process. So like how the Arani wood is churned, similarly, we have to go through that process of sadhana. So second point here is that King Prithu would be unapproachable by his enemies. And in the translation also mentioned that the enemies are very close to him. They're staying very close to him. And Prabhupada also mentions that those enemies are very close to him, but they cannot approach him. So what is the analogy for us? What is the lesson for us, especially for me, is that the enemies are within us. Within me, Kama, Krodha, Mada, Matsara. These are the key enemies, the biggest enemies, and how, even though they are very close, They are staying with us, and still how we can, make sure that they are not approaching us, they are not influencing us. So this is another point. This topic we'll try to discuss little more, in this part of today's discussion. Third point is neutral regarding all matters of verification, vilification. Generally, when somebody glorifies me, I get elevated, so I get kind of satisfaction or happiness. Other way around, if somebody start criticizing, I get demoralized. I you know my mood goes down, because of course it's generally is very common it is. But here the King Prutu is neutral, whether glorification or insult or criticism, both equally takes. Like Krishna says, we should be equal to whether summer or winter, or the heat or cold. Similarly, the glorifications and vilification should be taken in the same. Of course, we should not even aspire for glorification. Because the more we aspire for glorification, the more proud we become, and that is the symptom of downfall. Of course, vilification or the criticism is always better if you take that in a positive, and for my own correction, that's always better. So this is another topic. And fourth topic brought out here is impartial to everyone, friends and enemies. Yes, practicing devotees always impartial. This point we'll try to touch upon few points, otherwise if time permits we'll later discuss. And last point is, a king could not be separated from his ruling over us. And same way, Krishna's energy, Krishna's paraphernalia cannot be separated. Krishna's ruling or of the material creation or spiritual creation cannot be separated. So this is another topic brought out here. So Krishna is eternally existing, and he has got complete control over the material and spiritual world. So another point here. So today we touch upon what is this enemy, and who are the enemies, and what is a possible solution. We try to discuss on that. So Krishna says, "Eyata prapadyante tam satataiva bhajamya." How much you reciprocate, I will reciprocate. But generally, Krishna, even though we envy him, but his reciprocation is not the envious. His reciprocation is the love. We have seen many, many examples. Yesterday, Gokchandra Prabhu was giving a nice analogy on a tolerance. So many pastimes he mentioned. Like, for example, Putana. Putana came with the mentality of killing by breastfeeding, but Krishna gave her the motherly status. And so many other demons. Whoever, even though, he kills them, Prabhupada writes that he will appear like enemy, but that is not enmity, that's a love. So that, even though Krishna says, I will reciprocate, but his reciprocation is out of love. His reciprocation that somehow, please come back to me. In that mood, Krishna is reciprocating, even though it looks like an enmity. Like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 5:29, he says, Bhokta aranya tapasa, sarva loka maheshwara, suhrdam sarva bhutana, jnatma mam shantirachati. He says, I am the Bhokta, I am the Sarvaloka Maheshwara, I am the Suhrud. Suhrud Srila Prabhupada says that the word Suhrud, there is no equivalent English word. Suhrudin is such a person who will never give up. In today's material world, our friends are still, till we have something for them, they will be with us. The day they find that this person cannot give me anything, they will give up. I mean, that's a general tendency of friendship. And this friend is not that he will never give up. Whatever situation, whatever condition, he will be with us. Krishna, when whatever life I take, he comes with me. And wherever I go, he comes with me, and he is there to guide me and protect me. So such a Suhrud, he is, even though I show so much enmity, so much envy towards him, but he always reciprocates with the love. So this is the one point we need to understand. So generally, whom do we consider enemy? We consider enemy is those who are close to us. Like even though here give an example, like those who are within us, they are close. Kama, Krodha, Mada, Matsara, Lobha, they are with us. But we consider the enemies, the outside, those who are very close, like those who are known to us, my colleagues or my fellow devotees. You know, generally, if you analyze it, I don't envy somebody unknown to me, somebody very far. No, for example, the Prime Minister of India or some other great person. I don't envy them because I don't have a close relation. I envy my own maybe brothers, sisters, or my own colleagues, or my fellow devotees with whom I regularly deal with them. Whereas they are the people who are will be do some help for me in my difficulties, but generally I envy them. So that is a general tendency in the human. So at the same time, for a practicing devotees, no envy. What is our duty? Our duty is to give Krishna consciousness to everyone without any discrimination, without any discrimination, caste, creed, nation. Just give Krishna consciousness. This is the mood of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Just give the holy name. Like my Gurudev, His Holiness Jayapatak Maharaj says, 4G, give Gauranga. That is the mood in which we should give. So for a devotee, the mood of Krishna, the mood of Gauranga Mahaprabhu is the mood. So even Chaitanya Leela, there are so many people in need Gauranga Mahaprabhu. But Gauranga Prabhu just gave the holy name, whatever their envy or enmity towards them. We have examples, so many examples, Jagai Madai, or so many so-called smart Brahmins and Chandkazi, but he just gave them a holy name. So we need to take this mood, and so that we understand who is our real enemy. And the whole mood in which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes to this world is to remove this enemy in from our heart. Because in Krishna, he reciprocated by killing the demons, or in previous Lord Ram or Narsimhadev. In that avatar, they killed the demons. But now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes and he kills this enemy within my heart. Kama, Krodha, Mada, Matsara. They are the one to be killed. They are my real enemies. They are very close to me. They should be unapproachable to me. So in Bhagavad Gita 6:34, in Chanchala Haimana Krishna, Prabhupada writes here that purport that artificially one may establish a mental equilibrium toward both friend and enemy, but ultimately no worldly man can do so. For this, more difficult than a controlling raging wind. So if somebody says I'm equal to everybody with my own strength, Prabhupada says no, it's not possible. What is possible only when we totally surrender. Abhyas yogena. What is that? Abhyas, the devotional service. When that is possible to consider equal to friends and enemies. When next another purport Prabhupada in 4th canto, 9th chapter, 33 words, Prabhupada writes, although apparently we are awake in material life, because we have no information of the soul and super soul, we create many friends and enemies simply out of imagination. So see how Prabhupada writes here. He says, apparently we are awake. So we are not awake because we are not understood the soul and super soul. I am always in this bodily concept, the bodily consciousness. And because of my bodily conscious, I create many friends and enemies out of my own imagination. So the friends and enemies, it's not existing. It's my own creation because I'm in the bodily concept and with not having knowledge of soul and super soul. So what are these anarthas we discussed? Kama, Krodha, Mada, Matsara, Lobha. So we try to discuss the envy, the Matsarya, in a few more minutes before moving to next. So we are all here because of our envy towards the Lord. Because we wanted to enjoy in separation from the Lord, we have been sent here because we cannot enjoy in separation the Golok Vrindavan. So this is a place given us. Okay, do your whatever you want to desire and purify yourself, come back. So the envy is the reason we are here. And unless that envy is removed, we cannot go back. So, you know, one of the lecture, Jayadetta Maharaj was asked, Maharaj, why I come here? If I am part of Krishna, then why I am here when I came? So Maharaj replied back saying that if you are walking on the street and there is a deep well on the side and somebody pushes into that, and now you are into that well with the deep water and so many snakes and crocodiles, and they are devouring you. And at that moment, what you will do? Will you try to survive, try to come up, or will start thinking and judging who pushed me, why did he push? Now we are in this material world with the full of miseries, full of snakes and crocodiles. Is our job is to get out of this, not bother how I came, when I came. But the key point is that yes, we came here, because of envy. That Srila Prabhupada says. So this is that envy, cannot be used any of devotional services. Even other anarthas in somehow or other can be used. We have so many examples, but envy cannot be used. So generally said that envy, no vacancy for envy in spiritual world. So that is why we need to be very, very careful on. Srila Prabhupada writes in one more purport, is even in the association devotees, an uncontrolled mind may mislead one into feeling envy for fellow devotees who are possessing positions of greater responsibility. So this is especially for practice devotee like me, this is the key point. So because when we start envy of fellow devotees, there are a lot of, the downfall happens, because one Vaishnava aparadha, and that is the downfall. That is the point of my downfall. So, and also understand that these are the devotees who are helping me to progress in my Krishna consciousness. These are devotees give me this right opportunity to understand Krishna, and I envy them. So this is the, in the bad thing I should get correct myself. Chanakya Pandita says, Sarpa kuraha kala kuraha sarpat kurataraha kalaha. He says there are two animals who are crooked and envious. One is snake, another human. So you understand how great the human beings are. Any other animal, they may not attack any other unless that living entity is a food for him or that they have been disturbed. Otherwise, they will not attack. But snake is such an animal will unprovokedly bite, and human is such that unprovokedly we disturb others, unprovokedly we kill so many other living entities without any reason, without any, the good justification. So such human, because of our enviness towards other living entities, and because we envy Krishna, we have envy towards other living entities. So that's why we should be more careful. So in Prema Vivarta it says, Krishna Baliya Jiva Bhoga Vanchakare. What happens? I forget Krishna, and because of that, I want to enjoy. Because I want to enjoy more and more, all this problem starts with that. Because my sense enjoyment is the cause, for all my problems. Because when my desires not fulfilled, when somebody else gets something, I envy. Why he? Why not me? If somebody gets, some good position, I start thinking, no, why? That sometimes it's maybe obvious, sometimes may not be obvious. Sometimes, at the kind of a trigger or flickering happen in my heart. I'm not very comfortable. So it's because of my envy. Prabhupada writes, Maya means we are trying to imitate Krishna. So Prabhupada gives example, Mayavadi saying, I'm God, you are Narayana, I'm Narayana. So here the point is that we are trying to think that I can also like Krishna. So Krishna is Sarvaloka Maheshwara, and I also try to think that I am a controller. I want to control more and more because I don't want anybody to encroach my area because of my envy. Actually, our real position is to be servant. Jivere Swarupa Nityara Krishna Das. but I am trying to be master. So Prabhupada says the Maya is so strong. Even the greatest philosopher or greatest pandits who has studied all the Vedas, all the scriptures, but they are also bewildered. They are also kind of not understood who is Krishna and what is our duty towards Krishna. I mean, we have examples in even demigods. Like there is a case of Brahmaji gets bewildered. Indra is not able to understand Krishna. So recently we were discussing, always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. His Grace Rukmini Krishna Prabhu was giving example of this. Based on His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Maharaj. So Maharaj was telling that always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So why, when we say always remember, why never forget comes? When I always remember, it's never forget is already there, right? Why this? So in that Maharaj has given. So always remember is a do's and never forget is a don'ts. So when we say do's, of course, the basic do's, be always in association devotees, always surrender to holy name and read Srimad Bhagavatam, be in temple services and take prasadam. These are the basic do's. Of course, follow the four regular principles, and don'ts. Don't get into materialistic associations, non-devotee associations, and don't get into the which is breaking four regular principles, opposite sex or gambling or intoxications, things like that. So this is how we should keep our the attack of Maya from the So if you want to, unless we do this, we will not be able to understand, because in the society we see so millions of people, right? So how many of them take Krishna consciousness? Even so much devotees effort, very few. Like Krishna says, Bhavana Janmana Ante, Jnanavan Ma Prapadyante, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Who has that understood Vasudeva is the everything and Sah Mahatma Sudurlabha. We have to do that so that we become that Durlabha. We should understand that Vasudeva is Sarva. Vasudeva is Sarva. Then only this, my enemy in my heart, the envy can get out of it. Otherwise, I always will be thinking about. So Prabhupada says, envious is the exact opponent of love. So where there is love, there cannot be enviousness. But when there is no love, the enviousness comes. Prabhupada gives example of Hiranyakashipu and Prahalad. Hiranyakashipu was so envious of Lord, and he wanted to kill Lord Vishnu. And he did all, and because of that, he is ready to kill his own son. See the mood in which envious person goes to the extent. He is whatever it is, because he was envious of the Lord, he ready to kill his own son. So Prabhupada says that, like how Prahlad fought the war against the envious Hiranyakashipu, we have to fight that war. Our war is by preaching. Our war is the giving the bullet of Hare Krishna mantra. We have to fire this Hare Krishna mantra to wherever possible, as much as possible, so that the people in the society understand that they take up the Krishna consciousness. For others, so many sacrifice devotees are done. Like we have example of devotees in Russia. How much sacrifice, how many times they went to the jail, they were beaten, and some of them killed also, but still they practicing Krishna consciousness, they're spreading Krishna consciousness. More than practicing, of course, practice required, they're spreading, they're giving to others. That is the real the mercy. Yesterday, Gokul Prabhu also mentioned in scriptures there are so many envious persons. Shishpal. Shishpal was from the day one, he was envious of Krishna. Whatever it is, he was so envious of Krishna. But still, Krishna tolerated. And finally, when he killed also, he gave him he took his soul into his body. So this is the love of Krishna. So this is how the living entity, the envious living entity, and Krishna, so reciprocates. So another example is Duryodhana. Duryodhana was always envious Pandava, especially Bhima, because he's equal. He thought is Bhima is only one can kill me. So he was so envious. Whatever it is, somehow he wanted to kill Bhima and Pandavas. Similarly, the example of Karna. Karna was envious of Arjuna, whatever the reasons. Many times in the society, people try to defend Karna. But if you really understand Mahabharata in the right mood, Karna was not a righteous person. Even but still, Krishna gave him a lot of opportunities. Krishna personally spoke to him and make him understand. But he did not come up. He did not take up Krishna's advice. So this is the mood in which the devotee should take. The living entity, even after so many times telling, I'm not ready to take up what is Krishna's advice is that. Prabhupada says that only one advice we should take. Sarva dharma parityajya mameka sharanam vraja. Ham ta sarva papebhyo mokshaya shamasruchaha. Says, Prabhupada says, you rascal, surrender. That's what Prabhupada says here. So that is what we should, take it up. So in Chaitanya Leela, there is a pastime of how the Gopal Chapal, when Mahaprabhu and associates were doing Sankirtan in the night, this Gopal Chapal tried to bring all this Durga worship items and put in front of Shiva's house to give a feeling to the people that these people are doing some demigod worship or unwanted things. So, but see the result, because of the envious towards devotee, envious towards the Lord, envious towards the holy name. And of course, later he got leprosy and he came and begged Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu said, sorry, if you want really, go back to Shiva's. But point is that the enviousness, not only Gopal Chappal, so many other so-called pandits, so-called Brahmins, they were envious of the Supreme Lord. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, who is considered seventh Goswami, he says Sharanagati. 4 he says, Pare Ravdve Gati Che Je Katha Diyachi Jivera Kresha. I'm such a rascal, such an envious person. I always give pain to others, put them in anxiety. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, such an exalted personality, he writing this. So this is for me actually. He says, I'm such a rascal. I am envious person, and I give pain to others because of my envy. I give pain to others. Nija sukha lagi pape nahi dori dayahina swartapara. I am very selfish for my own name, fame, adoration, prestige, for my own happiness. I am not afraid of committing any sinful activity. Dayahita, I am a merciless person, a greatly selfish person. So many times I know, especially I'm talking about mine. The name fame becomes more dangerous than even other material appliances, because one who gets a position, he cannot give up. The glorification is become so attached. We are so kind of attached to that, and we cannot give up. And somebody comes to that position, we become so envious. We see in today's political, this one, nobody wants to give up their the positions because they get glorified, they get so much adoration. So here, when Bhaktivinoda talking adoration, prestige, they are the one. Actually, I think that I get so much happiness from that, but they are the one real problem creator for us. In Mahabharata, there is a story once Karna attacked Yudhishthira Maharaj. Yudhishthira Maharaj was badly attacked by Karna, and Yudhishthira Maharaj had been taken to his camp. So Arjuna, who was in the battlefield, he got the news that Yudhishthira Maharaj was attacked. So Arjuna went to his Yudhishthira Maharaj camp. So immediately Yudhishthira Maharaj said, Arjuna, I know you killed Karna. So Arjuna said, my dear brother, what I killed Karna? No, I didn't kill Karna. I just came to know that you have been attacked. I just came to see you. So Yudhishthira Maharaj said, what kind of a Gandiva are you holding? Why are you come to see me? So when he started insulting Gandiva, because Arjuna had taken vow that whoever insults my Gandiva, I'll kill him. So this is the situation. Now Arjuna takes up his weapon. Of course, Krishna is there. Krishna appears there, and Krishna says, dear brothers, what's happening here? So he says to Arjuna, yes, he has insulted your Gandiva. Now you can reciprocate it by insulting him, because for an exalted person, insult is worse than death. So now the Arjuna started giving all kind of insults to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So now his vow that whoever insults Gandiva will be killed is been taken care. After that, of course, he surrenders to Yudhishthira Maharaj and asks for forgiveness. So the point I am trying to make is that this glorification, adoration, name, fame, they are worse than other things, because my envy towards others. In next verse, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Parasuddhe dukkishada mityabhasi paradukka sukhakara. When I see someone becoming more advanced, it is very painful for me. So I become envious. Sada mithya, I speak lies. Para dukkha sukha kara. When I see someone suffering, I become joy. So this is the result of envy, and especially for practicing devotee like me, within the devotees, within the congregation, this should not ever come. Like how Prithu Maharaj, the envy should not be approachable. This envy should not be approachable to the practicing devotees. Prabhupada in 7th canto, 5th chapter, 12th verse, Prabhupada writes, Vaishnava treats other living entities as friend, not as an enemy, but instead of tries to spread Krishna consciousness, teaching everyone that we are all one as servant of Supreme Lord, but are uselessly wasting our valuable lives by creating nations, communities, other groups and friends and enemies. So Prabhupada is making it clear that none of the isms, socialisms or countryisms, all those things is not going to work. So only is that spread Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, we are uselessly wasting a valuable lives. So it's very clear, especially for me, practicing devotee is we need to understand that preaching Krishna consciousness is the only solution, is the only way to progress and only way to remove this anartha from my heart. So I was recently reading a message how ISKCON in Delhi, Ayodhya temple, they online reached out more than 4 lakh people. We can imagine what kind of a service is that, how much Srila Prabhupada will be happy to see that. 4 lakh people registered for this 18 days Bhagavad Gita sloka. Actually, they had to stop. They had to say, no, we cannot take it more. So that is now why I'm trying to say that so much opportunities are there. So many people are eager to take up, but somehow we have to become that nimitta. We have to become that the Prabhupada's soldiers, so that we can give this, to others. So to that, we have to be consider that every living entity is equal, especially the humans. So Krishna says, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Destiny Suni Chaiva Pakecha Pandita Samadarshana. We have to consider everybody equal, not only the animals, not only elephant, Brahmana, everybody equal, and give this holy name to how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in that mood is spread. We should give that holy name to as many people as possible. In other purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, Krishna conscious moment is for such a person who is no more jealous, who no more envious, perfect person. Dharma pojita kaitava atro paramanirmasarana satam vastavam vastu vedyam atra. He is quoting Srimad Bhagavatam, Nirmatsarana satam. So Bhagavatam cannot be released with the Nirmatsara. Bhagavatam cannot be understood with envy. So that is for a person who has taken up, Krishna consciousness. Jealous or envy should not be there. They should be removed. Those who are jealous, envious, they are in this material world, and those who are not jealous, they are in the spiritual world. Simple thing. You test yourself. When I am jealous, envious of my other associates, friends, everything, then I am in the material world. And if I am not jealous, then I am in the spiritual world. So we can be in the spiritual world, in this material world, if you just take out this one enemy from our heart. That enemy who is envy towards every living entity, because we are envy towards Krishna, this all coming. So at least I should start practicing that, to how to remove this from my heart. And Prabhupada says that if I'm not jealous, then I'm in the spiritual. If anyone can test, there is no question whether I'm spiritually advanced or not. You can test yourself. Srila Prabhupada says, for this, no certificate required. I can understand myself. I can, feel that what I'm doing, how much I'm envious, how much pinch I'm getting inside when I see somebody is getting glorified, when somebody gets a higher position, or somebody does a bigger job, bigger services. And many times this the kind of problems, we need a solution, which is given here. One given like our arani fire, continuous churning, our sadhana has to be practiced. That is a sadhana of chanting the holy name, reading Bhagavatam, and being association with the devotees. Like yesterday Gopal Chandra Prabhu mentioned, the by the tolerant, continuous tolerant, be with the devotees, that will help grow our otherwise the fire of Krishna consciousness cannot come. Our pure devotional service is the only process can take us this envy from heart. In one of the devotee, in his Vyasa Puja offering, he writes that, I offer my respectful obeisance to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He took the arani stick of hearing and chanting about Krishna and ignite the sacred fire of Krishna Bhakti in this world. So Srila Prabhupada did that. Now it's our turn to take this RNA stick and purify myself, remove this envy from my heart, and bring the bhakti from in my heart, and spread this to as much possible as possible. In Bhagavad Gita, 12th canto, 18th chapter, 12th chapter, 18th verse and 19th verse, Krishna says, Samasastrocha mitrecha tata manavapanyam shitoshna sukha dukkeshu samasanga vivarjitah tulya ninda shrutir moni santosto yena kenachit aniketah sthiramatir Bhaktiman me priyo naraha. One who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and famey, who is always free from contaminating association, always silent and satisfied with anything, who does not care for his residence, who is fixed in knowledge, and who is engaged in devotional service. Such a person is very dear to me. Now we are all aspiring to go back to Golok. We are on to get Krishna Prem. Krishna is giving the solution here. Who is dear to him? He is person who has these qualities and who is engaged in devotional service. That is the ultimate. Who has engaged in a pure devotional service is dear to him. So in our life, if you want to take out this enmity from our heart, this the process. Of course, always satisfied and never associate with the contaminated person, and silent doesn't mean that keep quiet. Speak only about Krishna consciousness. That is a silence. And with that pure devotion says, perform our sadhana. With that, we can progress. Prabhupada in Bhagavatam 6th canto, 4th chapter and 14th verse, he writes, one who engages in full devotional services, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the mode of material nature, thus comes to the spiritual platform. By engaging one to devotional service, the Krishna conscious movement keeps one always transcendental to anger, greed, lust, envy, and so forth. One must perform devotional service because otherwise one will become victimized by the modes of material nature. So again, solution is pure devotional services. That is what one can remove the anarthas, my heart, especially the envy. Bhagavatam talks about here, every man should act like this. When he meets a person more qualified than himself, he should be very pleased. When he meets someone less qualified than himself, he should compassionate toward him. And when he meets someone equal to him, he should make friendship with him. In this way, one is never affected by the threefold miseries of material nature. Now, we generally envy those who are equal to us. Of course, the greater, we should pay respect, and we should take their, blessings. And for below, we have to give. But our envy comes when we are equal. That's where, like, the services, preachers, two preachers, sometimes, many times it happens that we envy each other, or two, pujaris, or two singers, that's where we get envy. So that's where we, understand how I should take over this, how I should, control that. In Bhagavatam, this talks about Purusho Ramacharitam Shravanair Upadharayan Anashramya Paro Rajan Karma Bandher Vimuchyate. O King Parikshit, anyone who orally receives a narration concerning the characteristic Lord Ramchandra's pastimes will ultimately be freed from the disease of envy and thus be liberated from the bondage of fruitive activities. So, what is the solution to remove envy from our heart? Is that glories of Krishna, Lord Ram here mentioned, or Lord Krishna, and hear, continuously hear and chant, that that is what is going to remove our and narration, Nityam Bhagavatam, or chant, our Kirtan. These are the what can remove the envy from our heart. And of course, continuous endeavor, continuous services, and that too services, menial services. When we do the menial services without any prestige, name, fame, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Saishna Amanena Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. Without any respect, without any expect of respect, and giving respect to everybody. With that mood, we start serve, we start perform our devotional services. That is what will start removing our envy from our heart, which is the dearest enemy, for us, who is very close to in our heart. He is in my heart, he's with me, and he's always with me, and that's what I should take. Now, just to summarize, so we should take care of our internal enemies who are very close to me. Like Prithu Maharaj said, the enemies, even though they are close, they are not approachable. Similarly, these enemies in my heart, especially envy, you should not be approachable to me. I should take care of all the possible care. How do I keep this envy away from my heart? And solution is given is that preaching Krishna consciousness, because that is what dear to Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita also, 18 chapter 68 and 69th verse, Krishna says that one who preaching my glories are dear to me, and I will guarantee that they will come back to me. So for us, if you are, when I desire to go back to Krishna, when I want desire to Krishna prema, the only solution for me to preach Krishna consciousness, somehow or other, use whatever utility is a principle. Prabhupada says, whatever intelligence given, whatever technology is given, whatever mood is given, use it, spreading Krishna consciousness. It's like our sadhana should be like Arani fire, should be continuous churning. In the process, we may get burnt, but still that fire of Krishna consciousness will come only then. Like how the diamond becomes pure because of so much the process. Otherwise, diamond is not pure. Similarly, we should take up that purity of by continuous sadhana, like how Iswani Jayapatak Maharaj says that the 4G, give Gauranga. So wherever possible, give. That will please Krishna. With that, Krishna's mercy and devotees' mercy, I'll be able to take up my Krishna consciousness better. My enmity, and the envy in my heart can be removed. And we have a lot of opportunity in ICC, like uh, of course those services. Nityam Bhagavata Seva is the best process, best service we have here. Let's take up that process nicely, hear Srimad Bhagavatam daily, and read Bhagavatam and chant the holy name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. With this, we, at least I'm trying to talk about me, that the enemy, the greatest enemy in my heart, I try my best to remove it, and I seek your blessings of all the assembled devotees. Please bless me, so that I also try to practice few points what I said. With this, I'll stop here. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful deep dive into the, envy, how it actually comes into us and what all things happen. I mean, that's a very amazing thing. In fact, I just want to cover a few points which I really liked it in terms of, we talked about there's the Arani wood, which you said is constant churning. That's how the fire comes. Similarly, for us, we need to be constantly chanting. I mean, our sadhana is a thing by which we can actually get into, the pure, to purify ourselves is very important. It's very, very nice. You talked really in detail about the envious part of it. And you said that pure devotees, they have no enmity towards anybody for that matter. And I like the 4G, which actually Guru Maharaj said was wonderful in terms of give, Gauranga. That was very nice. And he also very nicely brought out the mood of Mahaprabhu, where he came to remove the enmity from the heart. But it's still very, very difficult. And you also explained how we are here because of envy, envy of Krishna, and to get back to the, spiritual world, we have to get this removed, and which is the most difficult thing also. I agree with that. I mean, it's a struggle. And you also wonderfully compared, this is a very nice thing which I know about humans and snakes, that the two are crooked, and most importantly, we disturb others unprovoked. That was a very, very nice statement, because it's a very strong statement of why we cause unnecessary disturbance, whether in terms of physically or mentally, in various ways. Emotionally, we can do many, many things. This is something of a learning for me. And you beautifully, brought the point that, where there is love, there can be no envy, and which means, when you remember Krishna, you can, you can focus more on expressing love than, focusing on envy, which is not important. And that is towards spreading the holy name across to everybody, which you gave various examples. And you gave so many examples of envy in Mahabharata and in Chaitanya Leela was very nice. So I had many things to put. And finally, you concluded very nicely to say, by hearing the glories of the Lord continuously, that will remove all our anarthas in the heart itself. Especially envy can go very well. I mean, you can get out of us very well, and we can perform menial service to the Lord and His devotees, which is more important than anything else. Thank you so much. I had so many points to write, but I could only call out a few. But very, very nice. Thank you so much.
Very nicely summarized.
No,